you got to look that, he calls out these apps for being surveillance apps. Google is allowed on the platform. Facebook is allowed on the platform. Dozens of third-party apps have been found to be slurping up a lot of your data, even when you're sleeping, are allowed on the platform without any kind of warning. So they could be doing more. They had some announcements a couple weeks ago where they're moving directionally in the right direction, but it's clear there's a lot more they could be doing to let users know that this is how your data is being used.
Why do you think it seems like no one is calling Tim Cook out on this? And that he isn't in the position of moral superiority in the tech industry.
And if you want to be a little cynical, you can say, well, Google pays Apple billions of dollars every year just to be the default search engine on iPhone. And he's been asked that a couple times, and he thinks it's still the best search engine or something like that. But yeah, there is a little irony here. They are setting themselves up to be in this position where if there is a privacy snafu, they literally have commercials to sell you the iPhone because of their privacy clout.
No, that's what they're selling right now. Ed, let me turn to you and ask you to put yourself in Cook's shoes, hearing what Steve just said, that his hands are not completely clean. The app developers, if I'm on a weather app that I've downloaded through the App Store, they know where I am at any given minute. Right. Is his argument that, but Apple doesn't do anything with that data? We don't import it back and use it for our auspices? And it's up to you, dear user, to understand what the app is doing with the data you give.
I think there's a few things going on here. I think, we're not using that data yet. And I think that's a key part here. It's easier
Says Cook.
Says Cook, right. Says
the
Apple.
Seller of hardware primarily.
It's primarily hardware. It's easier for him to jump into sort of, look at the Facebooks and the Googles and the fake news problems because, Apple isn't really a purveyor of social media, at least not in the way that we think of it. At the same time, I mean, look, he's talking about, if you look at the business, services is where the growth is going to be coming from. A lot of that is actually advertising. Now, the advertising runs across different platforms, and part of it's Apple and part of it's third party. So it's still not a big part of their business yet, but it will be, or at least they want it to be. So I think, he might have to eat his words at a later date. There's another thing going on, which is, there's a little bit of misdirection here. So we're looking at, the government is looking at big tech and all the big problems, whether it's fake news or privacy. The other part is, are they too big? Are they too powerful? In other words, as a platform like Apple, are they giving it a harder time for people in their ecosystem? Like Spotify, for example, has been trying to get its users to pay through their app without having to pay for that 30% tax. Apple doesn't want that to happen. So that's an example of the power argument. This is what Elizabeth Warren's been talking about. Should we take a closer look at how tech operates? So, there's a bit of misdirection. There's all kinds of problems going on with tech. Data privacy is one thing, but things like platform and their power is another thing. And he certainly skipped that in his speech.